Welcome back to Armchair Cinema. I'm here with Maren.
Hey.
And we're talking about the film Warfare. Maren, what did you think of Warfare?
It's not an easy watch.
No, it was not.
Yeah, so I find this movie very difficult to have anything to criticize about.
Yeah, it's less of a film, more of a cinematic experience, kind of an experiment, really.
So if for viewers who aren't aware of what the movie is trying to do and trying to be, is it was co-written and co-directed by an Iraqi war veteran, with the intent of accurately replicating his memories of a specific set of events that he personally experienced. So any of the usual film criticism stuff is just kind of irrelevant.
Yeah, it's 1 hour and a half of what actually happened.
Right, at least representation of the person's memory.
Yes.
I don't want to even really suggest that it's 100% factually accurate. It's how he remembers it.
We weren't there, so we don't get to criticize that.
Right, exactly. It's not like I can say, well, the characters were boring and interchangeable, because...
Well...
that's how they remember it. So what can I say?
Let me just say that I didn't pick up on anybody's name in this film.
No, because, I mean, yeah, if this was a fiction movie, I would say it's a problem that these characters are really boring and interchangeable. They don't really have anything to stand out, but that's kind of how it is.
Well, it's not so much that... Well, with this, there's no, character arc. There's no growth. There's no, A plot, B plot, and there's no Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. There is just a set of circumstances that happened. Yeah.
And it runs you through it in the most visceral way it possibly can. I mean, there's not much more to say than that.
I mean, it's safe to say that about 40 minutes of this movie were just screaming.
Oh, yeah, no, 40 minutes of the movie were screaming. There were a couple times when I felt like I maybe could have walked out, quite frankly. It was...
Really?
I mean, I got a strong stomach for horror, but this isn't horror, right?
No, it's not. It's war.
Right.
It's worse.
Yeah, it's definitely worse than horror. I wouldn't classify this as a horror movie. I wouldn't classify it as an action movie. It's closer to, actually, you know what? Film dork brainwave.
Oh boy.
This reminds me of a Dogma 95 movie.
You know, I didn't put that together, but it actually kind of does. Explain what Dogma 95 is to the people.
Yes. Dogma 95 was a Dutch film movement in the mid-90s, 95, that was intent on eschewing the artificiality of filmmaking. So the idea was to tell a story with as much realism as possible. So you don't bring anything to the set, and you don't write a script, and you don't really even cast actors. You just get people, you go to a place, and you do movie.
Everything is diegetic. You don't edit in music. You don't edit in sound effects. Everything is as it is shot.
Right, and the goal would be also to do it real time and to not do any, weird time alterations either. There's this set of rules put forth by the Dogma filmmakers. It's very specific and very detailed.
With noted filmmaker Lars van Trier.
Yes. Now, I will say this does not count as a Dogma movie.
This is not a Dogma 95 film.
No. One of the things that separates this from Dogma 95 is a Dogma 95 movie. To do this movie as a Dogma 95 movie, people would have to die.
Yes, and we're not doing that.
Right.
Hollywood isn't doing that.
No one should be doing that. So, yeah. Obviously, the visual effects are visual effects, as realistic as they look, and they are incredible, quite frankly. The things you can talk about in this movie that aren't just completely irrelevant is you can talk about the sound design and the visual effects, and even the cinematography to some extent. Although it's a pointless argument to say it could be more stylized and it could be more exciting visually, because of course it shouldn't be.
No, of course
It's
not.
an irrelevant thing to try and do for this movie.
No, like you'll have some shaky cam and you'll have some very still footage, but it's trying to be as invisible as possible.
Right.
It's trying to. You don't get caught up in the cinematography. You don't get caught up in stylized editing.
Yeah.
It is raw.
Yeah, raw is a word for it. And if this movie does not get the Academy Award for sound mixing, oh my God, something's wrong. I've not been this blown away by a movie's sound mixing since Zero Dark 30. Did Zero Dark 30 win for that? It should have. If it didn't.
Well, it was well known.
Yeah.
Probably for his sound mixing, on top of other things.
On top of other things. The less said about what other things Zero Dark 30 is known for, the better. I'm just seeing if it was actually nominated or won for that award, for one of the sound awards, because it definitely should have if it didn't.
I guess I'll take over here. So for the uninitiated, warfare is, as the title suggests, warfare. It is a group of soldiers pinned down in a building, and their struggle to get out of that building. How else would you put it?
I mean, yeah, that is what it is. It did win sound editing, by the way.
Oh, great.
But anyway, Warfare hopefully will as well, because Warfare's sound design was incredible.
Oh, yeah, talk about when the bomb went off.
Yeah, I really pity the people in adjacent theaters. It doesn't matter what you're watching, you're going to hear it.
I think the Minecraft movie was next door as I was watching this.
Chicken jockey, boom!
Oh, shit!
Yeah, so that big turning point was so effective as well, because before that, like, things had already been snafu. They were, already receiving fire. They got a grenade thrown into their sniper's nest.
And let me just say that the build up to that was incredible.
Oh yeah,
because you're waiting for the foot to drop. You're waiting for something to happen because it's a movie and that's what's going to happen during a war movie.
Right.
And when that grenade threw in, I audibly said, "Oh shit!"
Yeah, I believe it. Oh my God, yeah. So the action's already intense, but they're getting medevac for a guy got a pretty severe injury in his side or something from the grenade shrapnel, if I recall correctly.
I was pretty sure it was his hand.
Was his hand? Whatever. It was very much rendered irrelevant when their evac vehicle hit an IED and killed one of the guys and severely wounded two more.
Basically split a guy in half, and you see that too.
You see that pretty explicitly. That it doesn't linger on the gore too much. I mean, it does a little bit on the injuries, but not the dead bodies, which I think was a very deliberate choice.
I mean, there are disembodied legs on the ground for the rest of the movie.
Right. But they're not, like, lingered on or fawned over.
There's not a close-up of somebody's leg and going, look at this, people! Isn't this creepy?
Yeah. It's not like, Michael Bay shooting
where if it was Michael Bay, there'd be helicopters, and it would be a sunset, there would be Aerosmith playing in the background.
Let's not try to imagine this movie. That would be a mockery of the movie, of Warfare's intent.
Mm-hmm.
An absolute mockery. So yeah, it's a very rough movie. It's a very hard watch. I don't even know if it's a movie you can recommend.
Well, if we're skipping to recommendations, I would definitely recommend it to people who can stomach it.
I mean, I don't know if I really can say people, go out and see this movie. It's a great time. I would say if you want to see this movie already, yes. But I don't think I want to be telling people, like, this is a movie everyone should see.
I think it's a good example of, well, it's written by the people who go to war. It's written by our vets. And I was sitting there watching the film thinking the entire time, I'm a pansy.
Yeah.
If I were stuck in this situation, I would be breaking down and sobbing and contemplating putting that gun to my head,
Yeah.
I would not show near the bravery that these men have shown.
Absolutely. Which I think is one of the things that I think makes this movie work above everything else is it manages to be entirely apolitical.
Yes. Yes.
No matter how you come into this movie feeling about war, it will simultaneously challenge and validate your feelings.
Amazing for a film set in 2006 with the Iraq War.
Right, because it does not. The movie does not care why the soldiers are there.
No, there's no like in 2006 America was in conflict. No,
Right.
no, that doesn't happen. It's this is the war. This is what happened.
This is literally date and time, and that's like all we get for context. Date, time, location.
Yes.
That's all we get for context.
That's all we need. And
that because unlike other war movies, unlike, for instance, All Quiet on the Western Front, where you get, like, dialogues between the soldiers where they're talking about how, they don't even know why they're here, and it's if it's the leaders who get into these wars, they should be the ones to fight them. There's no talk of that at all.
There's very little, like, dialogue.
They're there to do a job, and they're doing that job. Mm-hmm. That is all the context that the movie cares about.
That and its intro, where they're watching, like, the workout video.
That was a very interesting intro, and
to me, it's a reminder that these are young men.
Mm-hmm.
These are people that you know.
Mm-hmm.
And this is what they're going through.
Mm-hmm.
This isn't the Green Berets, where
right.
John Wayne is going to save the day because he's such a manly man and America gung-ho, yay.
Right.
This is what's happening every day.
Right. At least every day in a war.
Mm-hmm.
Hopefully not actually every day for the rest of forever.
I have bad news about that. The bad news is that war happens every fucking day.
Yeah.
Moment of silence.
I mean, there's really not much you can say to that.
I thought, I actually said this after the movie,
mm-hmm.
That there's nothing quite as anti-war as war itself.
Right.
And like we were talking about earlier with how non-political this film is,
mm-hmm.
I was kind of coming in, I wasn't sure what I was expecting because I hadn't heard much about this movie. You're the one that told me about this movie.
Right.
So when I came in, I kind of thought this was going to be, a war drama. I thought this was going to be another America comes to get involved in a very difficult situation,
mm-hmm.
but at the end of the day, we're going to be waving a flag and we're going to be happy that it happened.
Mm-hmm.
And what I got instead was not that.
No, definitely not. Definitely not.
What I got was like the first 20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan stretched out for an hour and a half.
Even comparing it to Saving Private Ryan really doesn't do it justice.
No, it really doesn't, because Saving Private Ryan has characters and a plot. This has conflict.
Even if you pull out just the D-Day invasion segment where you don't really know the characters and you don't really have a plot yet, it's still stylized. It still feels like, it's a Spielberg movie.
Yeah.
It's not. There is an attempt at capturing the feeling of realism, but it doesn't feel real. Not like Warfare feels real anyway. I will say Saving Private Ryan's D-Day sequence feels more real than a lot of other war movies,
mm-hmm.
but not in the same way that Warfare feels real. Yeah. There's really not much you can really say about this movie beyond it's an incredibly intense experience, and it's very well crafted to achieve that.
Mm-hmm.
The ending was kind of interesting. It struck me as a little perfunctory. We didn't really pay much attention to the actual, impact of the locals on this war, so we'll just spend a few seconds sitting with them and their confusion of what to do with their lives from here on out, considering their entire home's destroyed. but it felt like, well, as long as we have to, we might as well, unless like it actually making a point about the civilian cost of war.
I was actually kind of appreciative of that part, because in so many different war films like this, you kind of forget about that. Because again, a lot of war films are gun ho, America, go yay, destroy everything. But we don't think about the cost that it has, even the people that may not be on our side, but they're still there.
Right. It just kind of felt like outside the movie's intended scope, and they just felt like they had to do that, and it just kind of felt like so they just threw something in there, as opposed to giving any real thought to making a statement. So it's kind of caught between the necessity, because it's based off of veterans' memories, the necessity of not making a statement about it, because that's not part of the whole memory recreation. But it also felt like it kind of had to, because it would have been really tasteless if they didn't.
Well, the family inside the building are present throughout the entire film.
Through like 2 or 3 parts, but like the movie kind of brushes them aside. I mean, it literally locks them in a room away from the rest of the cast for pretty much the entire sequence of events.
But they're still there with the conflict. We see them react to a lot of things that are going on, and these soldiers, trying to keep them safe as well.
I mean, we cut back to them like once or twice, but they don't.
Once or twice. I just came from the theater.
Okay. I mean, I will say it has been about a week and a half since I saw this.
I just saw it today.
Okay. So yeah. And maybe it does cut back to them more than I remember, but yeah.
I mean, the first few minutes of the film after we're done with them watching the workout video and having a good time with that, is them intruding on this home and basically just
seizing
invading.
It. Yeah, seizing it. So yeah, I mean, it almost feels like the house is more of a character than the people in it.
That's an interesting take.
I mean, we see more of the impact of the war on the structure and the building than on the people's lives. And I feel like we're just supposed to extrapolate what it's doing to these people's lives as a result of the building's destruction. Which is not a bad way of approaching things, I suppose. Yeah. I don't know, it just feels like that it's caught between this. This isn't part of the character's world, but it needs to be part of the movie. I don't know.
We're stretching a little bit here so we can...
There's really not a lot to talk about. I am, like, picking the tiniest of nits here, to be brutally honest. And I'm trying to explore a very detailed subtlety in the way that they're handling a very complicated and difficult topic.
I found myself getting lost with all of the army talk, the lingo.
Oh, yeah.
Because I am a pansy, and I don't know anything about the army or the military or fighting wars, because I sit in front of a computer.
Yeah, no. Same here. Very much the same here. My experience of war is Medal of Honor Allied Assault.
I don't even have that. I didn't even grow up playing that.
Yeah, so I obviously don't have any real experience with anything.
Look at us. Do you think we have any experience with this sort of thing?
God. Yeah, definitely not. But, I mean, definitely discouraged me from ever wanting any further experience.
And it's made me thankful for the people that are willing to go out there and fight my battles for me.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Because there's no way that any human should ever have to deal with that. Just, it should not be a requirement. So people that are willing to do that without it being a, imposed forced service is it's beyond my reckoning. I don't understand.
So this is an Alex Garland film, changing the subject.
Yeah, Alex Garland's a great filmmaker.
I've only seen Civil War, actually. I guess this is a huge gap in my
yes. Okay, if you
film
want Alexander Garland 101, Dread, Ex Machina, Annihilation.
Dread, the superhero film?
Yes, it was well, sort of comic book, not really superhero. I would definitely not call Dread a superhero.
Okay, fair.
Actually, Dread has been in a little bit of news. This is a bit more of a digression, but Alexander Garland has basically admitted that one of the movies that he worked on but wasn't credited as a director, he's very non-specific, he essentially ghost directed.
Oh, really?
And people are assuming, with reason, that this was Dread. And having seen Dread myself, I can definitely see Alex Garland's fingerprints on it, even though he's not credited as a director.
That's interesting. I saw it a long time ago, but I wouldn't have put that piece together.
Well, yeah, because you've only seen Civil War, Dread, and Warfare at this point.
Yeah.
And Warfare, I would not really call strictly an Alexander Garland movie.
No.
Because obviously it doesn't have any narrative feeling from him, because it's not his story. And he definitely was very hands-off narratively. And before the credits, technically part of the main movie, we see both pictures of the actual service members and clips of the movie being produced,
yes,
juxtaposed against each other, which was a brilliant move. It sort of helps you bridge the gap of fiction and reality. Helps you see, okay, these are the real people, and this is the movie. And you can sort of get a sense for what's artificial and what's real, which is vitally important for a movie trying to be as real as this and dealing with real people's experiences. So we do get to see a bit of the co-director, whose name is, I should really know his name. I'm looking that up right now.
Thank you for your service, co-director.
Yes.
To both the country and the movie.
Ray Mendoza. Ray Mendoza was the co-writer and co-director, and we see a bit of him directing in those clips, and he's definitely like in the driver's seat. He's like in there showing the actors how to move. He's being very specific about where actors need to be and what they need to be doing. So this is very much, I think Alexander Garland was pretty much there just to make sure the movie got finished, because Ray Mendoza is not by trade a filmmaker.
No, I gotta have to agree with that. That Alex was there to make sure the film had a name to it, and that
it just got done.
That it had the people behind it that it needed.
Right. So that, you know, if Ray Mendoza was like, well, I want to make sure that this happens, Alexander Garland could step in. It's like, that's not possible with what we have. We need to find another option.
Or say that it is possible.
Or say that it is possible.
We
can do that. Because obviously Alexander Garland knows filmmaking, Ray Mendoza knows his experience. Mm-hmm. So by bringing those together, we can get what we got. Which is an incredible, one-of-a-kind movie. We will not see this like ever again.
No.
Because another thing, I did a little digging on Ray Mendoza. The reason that he was in a position to really bring this to life is he has been a military consultant on a lot of big media projects. Mm. He's worked on the Call of Duty franchise of video games. Oh, cool. So, like, he already had media industry connections, and that's why this even exists. And it's very rare to have that. A war veteran who's as involved in the entertainment industry as Ray Mendoza is. So we got this one-of-a-kind movie. We will probably never see its like ever again. And I can't imagine, even as I think this movie was successful.
Was it? Because I haven't really heard about it until you told me about it. And there was no one in the theater when I saw it.
Well, it's not I don't think it was, it wasn't a very expensive movie. It was only $20 million.
Oh, wow.
Which, yes, for people who don't know movie budgets, $20 million is pretty
very
small.
Low.
Okay. It's made $17.6 million.
That's good.
Granted, it's been in theaters since, like, April 11th.
Okay.
So, okay, might not be ridiculously successful. still a little less successful than I thought it was, because I've heard quite a few people in like film circles talk about it, but I guess it's just sitting in film circles, which makes sense. This is a very experimental kind of movie, and not the kind of movie that people are going to be like going gaga over.
No, it's definitely, like I said, like we said at the beginning, this is more of a experience.
Yeah. So yeah, and generally the rule of thumb with like big budget Hollywood movies is they need to double their budget to make money. I would say that's not the case with Warfare, because usually they need to double their budget for the sake of marketing. Warfare did not spend nearly as much in marketing as a big budget Hollywood movie. Obviously, since most people haven't heard of it. So I would estimate that it's probably going to break even and make a little bit of money, certainly by the time it hits streaming, which, by the way, if you've seen this movie on your, 30-inch TV with TV speakers, you haven't seen this movie.
Oh, no, there's so much going on with the sound, so much going on with what you're seeing.
No, you haven't seen this movie with... You need at minimum a soundbar with a subwoofer. At minimum. I'm also a home media head, so I know these things. But yeah, you definitely need a subwoofer.
I just watch movies.
Ideally, of course, you want the highest end sound system, but I would think at minimum you'd need a soundbar with a subwoofer. And yeah, a screen size doesn't really matter so much for this movie.
No.
I kind of wish I had seen it in IMAX, but I'm also kind of glad I didn't. It was kind of a give and take.
Like we've been saying all along, it's an experience.
Yeah.
And how much you want to put into that experience, I think, is on you.
Yeah, it's not for the faint of heart. Again, I literally don't think I know a single person that I would go up to and say, you should see this movie.
I can think of a few people.
There's just no one I think that would really, no one I know that would like get something profoundly good out of it. I think it would just be an unpleasant experience to be like, yeah, it was well made, but I didn't enjoy it. And that's kind of where I'm at, honestly. I can't honestly say I enjoyed this movie. It impressed me. I'm glad I saw it, but that does not mean I enjoyed it.
Well, there's different categories of films. Some films
Right.
are made to be enjoyed. Some films are made to be just sort of something you think about or something that you
Right.
gain a new perspective on.
Yeah.
And that's what this movie did for me, is it gave me a new perspective. I think it's a bit too easy to talk about war and the cost of it without knowing what it is it actually takes from people.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, a lot of people can say, I can be a soldier, and a lot of people can be, but I know that I can't.
Yeah.
And this movie confirmed that for me.
Yeah.
So, what other Alex Garland films would you recommend if you I wouldn't say enjoyed, but if you were engaged by this film?
Annihilation, I think, would be my I haven't seen Ex Machina. I've heard so many good things about it, so maybe that one's better. But Annihilation has been my favorite Alexander Garland movie forever, ever since I saw it. I really wish that it had gotten more attention in theaters when it came out, because it is a sci-fi movie. It's not a sci-fi action movie. It's a sci-fi movie. It's like Stalker. In fact, it has a couple visual references to Stalker. It is very similar to Stalker. It's got more action than Stalker. Okay. I need to tell people what Stalker is.
Yes, I'm just here going, yeah, like Stalker. I know what that is.
There's a Russian filmmaker, Andrei Tartakovsky, hugely influential, did a bunch of sci-fi movies. You might have heard of Solaris, you might not have, because Soderbergh did a remake of it in the 2000s. But he does, like, Russian movies of a very Russian style. They're very Eastern European depressing.
Yay!
Yeah. And Stalker was a movie about a bunch of guys going into a hazardous area, possibly nuclear. It's very ambiguous. That is devoid of human life, because if you get to the center of it, then you can have your wish come true, basically. Have you not seen it? That seemed like you were a little surprised.
I have not seen it.
Okay, well, it's a good movie.
Okay.
So anyway, Annihilation is not quite so fantastical. You have an alien thing called the Shimmer that is appeared in a rather desolate part of America. They've already evacuated everyone out of it, so it's desolate. And it's been like this bubble of like a soap bubble. You know the little rainbow shimmer you get on a soap bubble?
Yeah.
It's like that, but like more sci-fi. And it's been slowly expanding. So they send in a bunch of scientists. Well, first they send in a bunch of military people to figure out what's going on because we're America. And they don't come back. So then they send in a bunch of military trained scientists to figure out what's going on because I guess got smarter. And the movie's sort of like this meditation on like mortality, and like the people who are the scientists who are choosing to go on this are doing so with the full knowledge they're not going to come back because no one else has. So they all have their own reasons for basically giving up on their life. And so there's a lot of talk about that, and it's a very philosophical sci-fi movie. And they also run across a few mutants that try to kill them. So, I mean, it's got a little bit of action in there, too. But it is hardcore a sci-fi movie, and it is so nice. It was so nice in theaters, and I think it was 2014 or something like that. To just sit down and see a hard sci-fi movie that is a sci-fi movie and not trying to be like an action movie or a sci-fi horror movie or
another Star Wars.
Right. And yeah, it's an incredible sci-fi movie. And I've heard Ex Machina is very similar, dealing with AI and what's the divide between artificial intelligence and like an actual being. Again, I haven't seen it. I don't really know. I'm just guessing from what I've heard other people say. The only one I really haven't seen that's big is Civil War.
I saw Civil War, and I have to say, I don't think it was the best.
That's probably the case. What I heard about Civil War, and you can correct me if I'm wrong about this, is that it tried to talk about American politics while not knowing a damn thing about American politics.
It didn't have the guts to talk about American politics when it really needed to. And I was saying with someone who was like, well, maybe they didn't want to be divisive. But if you're talking about a civil war and fucking America, you have to be divisive and you have to talk about these things.
Yeah.
And it didn't want to. It's not that it was a bad film. It's just that it didn't want to be a great film. It's a well put together like anti-war piece, and it talks about a lot of things. It talks about a lot of things that America struggles with, but it didn't talk about America like it should have.
Yeah. So yeah, Annihilation would be the first place I would go with Alexander Garland. But if you just want an action movie, Dread's really good.
Dread is really good.
Yeah, it's a straightforward action movie. You're not really getting anything more than just a bunch of really cool action, but it is a bunch of really cool action. So,
as opposed to Warfare, where you see a whole bunch of realistic, gory, unfun action.
Yeah. I mean, you could even make an argument that there's no like formally action in Warfare.
No,
not in the way that you think of action in an action movie.
Because like you see gunfire, but it's you don't see bullets land on people. You barely see them hit anything.
Right. When
gunfire happens, it's to stop other gunfire.
Right. Yeah, the only times people are really injured is because of explosives. And yeah, you don't even really see the antagonists for the majority. There's like, maybe I can think of like 3 shots where you actually see an insurgent with a firearm.
Pretty much.
Yeah, I mean, and the only clear shot you get of them is at the very end, where they're just kind of standing around going like, I guess it's over, whatever that was. You know what? Going back to the movie, no one won and no one lost. And I think that's very important.
Yeah, that's kind of the way anti-war films should go.
Right. Because, I mean, sure, the U.S. Armed Forces, they got out of there. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, they were there running guard over another group that we don't even really ever see, and we don't really even know what they were doing or if they accomplished what they were trying to do. Or if they did, that kind of whizzed right over my head. So we don't really know if the U.S. military even accomplished anything, and it seems like the insurgents didn't really accomplish anything. I guess they repelled the Americans, but, I mean, We were kind of still there. So, like, nothing was accomplished in the whole movie. And I think that's one of the most important things it says.
That's pretty accurate. That's the way it goes.
Yeah.
Violence begets violence, and when you're doing it formally, this is what happens.
And then at some point, it just kind of stops.
Hopefully.
Or at least pauses for an unspecified amount of time.